Africa's economies are among the fastest growing in the world, but that growth is only part of the story. Inequality is on the rise, and with 2/3 of Africans dependent on farming for their livelihoods, this year's Africa Progress Report argues that Africa must boost its agriculture to reduce poverty and inequality. At the African Development Bank annual meetings in the Rwandan capital Kigali, members of the Africa Progress Panel discussed the report with government and industry leaders. The report, Grain, Fish, Money, shows that Africa has the potential to feed not just itself, but other regions too. Africa's farmers will need better infrastructure and access to financial services in order to improve their productivity. Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo is one of the Africa Progress Panel's 10 members.
When you make loan or finances available to farmers at the rate of 20%, 18%, 15%, and we are beating our chest and say, yes, we have made money available to farmers, we are deceiving ourselves. Because there's no way farmers can make it at that rate of interest unless they are producing cocaine.
Growing demand for food should be an enormous business opportunity for African farmers. Global food demand is expected to double by 2050. And African farmers could also earn tens of billions of dollars by supplying African markets, which rely too heavily on imports at present. Akin Adesina is Nigeria's Minister of Agriculture, and he joined the panel in the discussion.
For me, it makes absolutely no sense that Africa is spending $35 billion importing food. We have the land, we have cheap labor, we get good rainfall, we get great sunshine. You throw anything up in Africa, before it hits the ground, it grows. So we got the comparative advantage. What we've got to do is to turn that comparative advantage into a competitive advantage.
The Africa Progress Panel is chaired by former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. It is an independent panel that advocates for more equitable and sustainable policies for Africa. It is not afraid to tackle some of Africa's toughest issues, as the African Development Bank's president, Donald Kaberuka, explained.
We've got used to the reports from the panel which are politically incorrect, which touch delicate issues, which is not full of development speak, but actually go to the heart of the matter. Some of our institutions are not able to do those kind of reports because we have to be careful about things we say and we do.
The panel's access to leaders means they can lobby for change at the highest levels. And Executive Director Caroline Kende-Robb says that this year's report is already making an impact.
All sorts of different people are coming to us and saying, look, this report is critical. Ex-presidents coming saying this is a critical issue that we need to focus on now. Business leaders as well, and ministers of agriculture are saying, look, you know, agriculture is not a charity case, it's about a business case. So there seems to be some kind of a mental shift on the way in which Africa and Africans are looking at agriculture these days. It's an opportunity.
Some countries, including Rwanda, have already demonstrated the possibilities. In the past 5 years, Rwanda's booming agricultural growth has been a major contributor to the country's economic success. Average annual growth has been the second highest in Africa, and between 2006 to 2011, poverty rates fell by 12%. Claire Akamanzi heads the Rwanda Development Board.
Well, I think that Africa is very much underexploited. So I think there's a lot more potential than is currently being realized. And yes, you know, the food bill will probably double, but I think also income levels of Africans is really going to increase by 2050. If we already look at where we are today, middle class is increasing, per capita income is increasing. In countries like Rwanda, we've seen the per capita income grow 3 times over the last 10 years. So I think that income levels are going to be high, and we're probably going to be more smarter in how we exploit our resources, including land, because we've learned a lot from the past, and there's more commitment today than there ever has been before.
Rwanda has focused on increasing the productivity of its staple food crops. These crops have a lower value than export crops, but they are grown by more producers. Supporting these crops reduces poverty and inequality. Africa has enormous potential for agricultural growth. Indeed, this year's Africa Progress Report says the continent could double its productivity levels easily within 5 years. The time to unlock that potential is now.